right. Streaming's looking good, I do believe. So your family and friends should be able to see y'all. Okay, we got it. All right, counsel. We're going to take care of preliminary matters before we get into it here, and then we'll wait for our final thumbs up. The court is on the record in what I believe to be the case of People versus Avery Becker. Am I correct, counsel? Is this Avery Becker the defendant in the case?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Let's first talk to the prosecution. Are the people prepared to proceed today?
Yes, Your Honor. The people are ready.
Is the defense prepared to proceed today?
Yes, Your Honor, we're prepared.
All right. I believe that the judges should have their scoring panelists. The chat is supposed to show team rosters, but I'm afraid it's not right now. So we're going to do the best we can. Let's see, judges, I don't know if you're able to see the attorney names. Let's do this. Let me have the attorneys for the people first and their witnesses enter their appearances so that our panelists can get names down.
Your Honor, before we begin, would you like the prosecution's trial roster?
Yes, I would.
Okay, we can get that in the chat in just a moment.
All right, see, that's why I asked you guys. All right. I don't know how to do that. I'm glad you do. And if the defense can't, that's okay, because I don't know how to do it either.
Your Honor, the people's trial roster is in the chat.
Okay. There it is. All right, and let me just ask, are the panelists able to see that so they can transfer names to their scoring sheets, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Outstanding.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Ryan, I'm not very good at this. Are you able to see that okay?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm printing it real quick, so I'll have it in front of me.
All right. No, it's fine. All right. Is the defense able to do that? Again, I'm not going to hold it against the defense, and I'm going to remind the scoring panelists not to either. Is the defense able to upload their roster?
Yeah, I can do that. It just might take me a second to get that in there.
Or let me know. Well, I'll see when it pops up so that the scoring panelists have that as well. In the meantime, we're going to see how close we are to getting the real start here. Are we still working on that from the defense, or am I just blind?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just taking a while to load and
It's okay.
get through this.
That's all right. I haven't gotten the final word yet anyway, so we got a sec.
Your Honor, this is
Yes.
Holly Ryan. I have a quick question.
Yes, Ms. Ryan.
On the trial roster that I printed for Team M, it gave me 2 different team rosters. Am I looking at page 1 where the opening is going to be done by Madeline Proctor or opening by Ashlyn Virek?
Opening done by Madeline Proctor, page 1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And it looks like, who's opening for the defense, please?
I am, Your Honor.
And that's Ms. Gray, is that right?
Yes.
Your Honor, I just copied the link to our roster into the chat box. It should work. Tell me if it doesn't.
All right, again, I am not the right guy. I'm more concerned about our scoring panelists. I'm not quite sure if that's going to work, but I'll have the panelists let me know if they're able to view that.
I am not able to view that link.
All right, here's what we're going to
I'm
do.
not either.
All right, again, these are not to be counted either for or against either the people or the defense. That is, this is a technological issue. This isn't why you're here to be scored on how you can attach something. So you're okay, guys, and the panelists aren't going to dock you for it. But in lieu of that, let's do this. Let's go ahead and enter your appearances, counsel. Let me hear from your witnesses. That is, let me know who your actress, who is going to be playing which witness and who's going to be doing opening and closing, and that way we can get rolling. All right. So let me hear entries first from the people.
Your Honor, counsel, members of the jury, my name is Chalmers Powell, and I represent the people of the state of Colorado. Your Honor, may my co-counsel now introduce themselves?
Yes, please.
Your Honor, counsel, members of the jury, my name is Madeline Proctor, and today I represent the people of the state of Colorado.
Your Honor, counsel, members of the jury, my name is Feliciana Sayers, and today I represent the people of the state of Colorado.
Your Honor, may our witnesses now introduce themselves?
Please.
Good evening, Your Honor, counsel, members of the jury. My name is Trenton Schultz, and I am Detective Jordan Markowitz.
Good evening, Your Honor, counsel, members of the jury. My name is Benjamin Phillips, and I am Kyle Cusack.
Good evening, Your Honor, counsel, members of the jury. My name is Juliette Bruner, and I am Alex Cifuentes.
All right. And may I ask who's closing for the people, please?
Your Honor, I am closing for the people.
Mr. Powell.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Entries of appearance for the defense, please.
Yes, I'm Virginia Frau. I'm defense attorney. I will be doing the direct examination of Taylor Perkins, the cross-examination of Kyle Cusack, and the closing argument.
All right.
Your Honor, I'm Lane Gray, and I will be performing the direct examination of Avery Becker and the cross-examination of Detective Jordan Markowitz.
And Your Honor, my name is Olivia Fendrick. I will be conducting the direct examination of Blake Van Owen and the cross-examination of Alex Cifuentes.
I'm sorry, Ms. Fendrick. Tell me who you're going to be examining again. I apologize.
I will be direct examining Blake Van Owen and cross-examining Alex Cifuentes.
All right. Your witnesses, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Olga Srabala, and today I'll be playing Taylor Perkins.
Good evening, Your Honor, members of the opposing counsel and the jury. My name is Harvey Rainwater, and I'm Avery Becker.
My name's Mallory Coughlin, and I'll be playing Blake Van Owen.
Let's see. Is it Ms. Frau who's closing? Is that correct?
Yes, I'll be doing the closing argument.
All right. Panelists, were you able to make that work for you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, outstanding. All right, give me one more sec, and then I'm hoping to launch here, folks. I just want to make sure I get the final okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have not heard anything negative. Therefore, I think we're going to go forward. The court will bear the responsibility for proceeding too early if I'm wrong. All right. Although it may seem a little unusual, folks, I do need to tell you that the Colorado Bar Association may be taking photographs of the competition during this round, and that your team participation in the tournament grants automatic permission in the use of these photos by the Colorado Bar Association. It's my understanding that the live stream is being recorded via YouTube, but are there any other individuals that are recording today? I'm presuming no, since I don't have anything but lawyers and panelists here. Correct. I'll remind counsel that no recesses will be allowed with the exception of those granted for a health emergency, and especially not between the end of witness examination and the beginning of closing arguments. Let's see. Any disputes arising out of the competition must be reported in accordance with the competition rules. That's particularly for the coaches who may be watching as well. Your compliance with time requirements is considered in scoring individual performances. Please keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. And we do have our timekeepers present. Is that correct? Can I just confirm that we have a timekeeper from each team, please?
Your Honor, the defense has their timekeeper here.
All right. People have a timekeeper?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, outstanding. All right, folks, in light of the odd and unusual circumstances we're in, I'm not going to order or ask that anybody stand to be given the oath, but I will ask that all team members, not witnesses, but team members, please, in other words, counsel, please raise your right hands. All right. Team members, do you promise that the presentation you are about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to the facts and rules of the mock trial competition?
I do.
All right, you can put your hands down. Witnesses, please raise your right hands, and you again may remain seated. Witnesses, do you promise that the testimony you are about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to your witness statements, that you will not add material facts or opinions which are not contained in the case problem, and that you will follow the rules and procedures of the mock trial competition?
Yes, Your Honor.
I do.
You can put your hands down. Scoring panelists, you can certainly remain video off, but if you'd please raise your right hands. Do you promise to adjudicate the mock trial competition as fairly and objectively as possible in accordance with the facts, procedures, and rules of the mock trial competition?
I do.
I do.
All right, you may put your hands down. All right. We are, I believe, to the preliminary phase of the proceeding. Are there any preliminary issues from the people?
Yes, Your Honor. We have three preliminary matters, Your Honor.
Please go ahead.
Your Honor, the people request that the stipulated facts may be constructively read into the record.
All right, any objection from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
That request is granted. They'll be constructively received. Next request, please.
Your Honor, we request when entering exhibits, we may ask the witness and counsel to refer to their case material. And if it's admitted, may we request to screen share to the jury.
All right, defense position.
Your Honor, I was going to ask that the attorneys be able to share their screens to present evidence, and that while that's happening until it's admitted, it only be counted as being shared with the witness and opposing counsel.
All right. As to that latter request, I think that was the second request of the people as well. These are odd times indeed, folks. So I will permit you to screen share, recognizing that if we were all here together, that would not be the way it would work. But I think it's the only way for you folks to share information. So I will permit both sides to do that. And from the people, the first part of that request, again, you're just asking that if there are exhibits that are being referred to, that they be referred to by the admitted number or letter. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. Say we're trying to admit exhibit, 14. We say, Mr. Van Owen, please direct your attention to exhibit 14. Is exhibit 14 in front of you? What is exhibit 14?
Got it. I will leave the procedure to be used by each team to that team. The judges can weigh the way that each team does that as the judges may see fit. Counsel, you said you had two more requests. Go ahead.
Your Honor, the people request that any time remaining in my closing argument be reserved for rebuttal.
All right, that request is granted.
With that, Your Honor, the people are ready to proceed.
I'm sorry, I need to make sure I understand that last request. I apologize. So you wanted any time remaining in your closing to be used in rebuttal for closing, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, sorry. Wanted to make sure I understood you. That request is granted, but I didn't ask the defense their position on it.
No objections, Your Honor.
All right. Any preliminary issues for the defense?
Nope, we're good. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. I believe we are ready then for opening from the people if they wish to make an opening.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, counsel, you may proceed.
Towers, texts, and tantrums. Mackenzie Brackman was an attorney, so running around all day was just part of the gig. He also volunteered his time at the local high school as a mock trial coach. For him, moments of rest were few and far between. But on March 6th, he finally got one of those moments. He sat down, no more worrying about the defendant in his upcoming case or that Avery Becker kid who vandalized his car. So he sat down and listened to the birds chirp on South Flower Street. Ding, motion at your front door. Ding, motion at the side gate. And as the back door slides open, one more alert. It all happened so quickly, and Coach Brackman reached to grab a defensive weapon. But one moment he was relaxing, and the next he was fighting for his life. But before he knew it, there was a knife in his back, and he was bleeding out on the floor. The masked and angry Avery Becker fleeing the scene. These were the final moments of Coach Mackenzie Brackman. Your Honor, counsel, members of the jury, my name is Madeline Proctor, and together with Feliciana Sayers and Chalmers Powell, we represent the people of the state of Colorado. Now, we carry the burden in today's case to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant, Miss Becker, committed the crimes of second-degree burglary, which is criminal mischief, and by extension, first-degree murder. We will meet that burden. For now, focus on three things: towers, texts, and tantrums. Towers. Detective Markowitz used highly accurate cell tower data to find out where Avery Becker really was on March 6th. These reports proved that he was at or near the defendant's house, the victim's house, during the time of the break-in and the murder. His phone pinged not once, not twice, but 3 times in the same cell tower arc as the victim. This is clear evidence of his location. Texts. Alex Cifuentes received text messages from the defendant's own phone threatening to vandalize Coach Brackman's house. These messages were sent the day before the murder, and they paint a portrait of the defendant's motive to go to his house on March 6th, to break in and to vandalize it. The text messages prove his intent to vandalize the home, and the resulting crime scene shows that he followed through with it. Tantrums. Avery Becker went to Coach Brackman's house on March 6th with the intent to vandalize it. A burglary gone wrong. You see, Avery Becker had won some awards at the regional mock trial tournament, but Coach Brackman told him he didn't deserve those awards. So what happened? He got mad and he went outside and vandalized the victim's car with a Sharpie. When Coach saw this, he kicked him off the team for good. He got even madder. This gave Avery Becker all the motive in the world to go to Coach Brackman's house on March 6th, break in, and vandalize it. The defense has no obligation to present any evidence in today's case, but we expect that they will. Their purported expert has only ever testified for the defense. Taylor Perkins will do anything to help her best friend. And Avery Becker has every possible reason not to tell the truth. Members of the jury, the case before you is a tragedy. Coach Brackman dedicated his life to helping shape the future leaders of America. He was a shining star in the community, but that light extinguished when he bled out on the floor on March 6th. Towers, texts, and tantrums. At the end of today's trial, Mr. Powell will stand before you and walk with you through the evidence. He will ask for a verdict of guilty. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Does the defense wish to make an opening?
Yes, Your Honor.
When you're ready, counsel.
What would you do if you discovered that your friends had turned against you, your peers hated you, and you'd been accused of taking the life of someone who wanted the very best for you? This question has become the very essence of the life of high schooler Avery Becker, and after being accused of causing a scandal that shook Colorado high school mock trial to its core. Your Honor, members of the jury, my name is Lane Gray, representing the defendant in this case. My client, Avery Becker, has been wrongfully accused of attempting to take revenge on their mock trial coach by way of burglary and inadvertently murder. This case has been brought under the Colorado law for murder in the first degree, in which someone other than co-conspirator dies during a commission of burglary, and the Colorado law for burglary is the second degree in which a person knowingly enters a dwelling unlawfully with the intent to commit a crime against another person. The facts of this case are rudimentary in and of themselves. On March 6, 2020, Mackenzie Brockman was murdered in his own home by an unidentified intruder. Let the evidence show that my client, Avery Becker, made a mistake. On March 5th, they vandalized the car of Mackenzie Brockman after an altercation occurring during practice, resulting in their expulsion from the team. The damage was entirely unintentional, and my client even offered to pay for any and all defacement that resulted for their actions. The next day, Becker tried to schedule a meeting with the victim, but was turned away. My client then skipped school in order to locate their cell phone, which had been lost the day prior. They received several phone calls from another student who aided in the retrieval of the device by calling and texting the missing phone so as to locate it. Mr. Brackman was murdered later that night without having any contact with the defendant since the incident in the parking lot on the 5th. There are certain facts in this case that are not in dispute. They are that the signatures on the witness statements are authentic. Chain of custody for evidence is not in dispute. Situations cannot be challenged or otherwise contradicted, and Exhibit 22's audio recording is an accurate copy of the court proceedings of the case against Jonathan Rowlands. Both parties have agreed to the stipulated facts. Under Colorado law, there are 3 elements that must be proven for my client to be convicted. First, the prosecution must prove that the defendant committed the murder. Then they must prove that the death took place during the commission or attempted commission of an inherently dangerous felony. And finally, they must prove that the defendant intended to commit the felony in the first place. Today, we will call 3 witnesses to the stand. Avery Becker, Taylor Perkins, who was with Becker on the day of the crime, and Professor Blake Van Owen, a private investigator and defense expert. Avery will tell you that they were not at the scene of the crime, nor did they have any involvement with Brockman after they were denied a meeting with him. Taylor Perkins will testify that they skipped school on the 6th of March with Avery so as to locate their missing phone. And finally, Professor Van Owen will describe the significance of various exhibits of the case. In order to be convicted, the defendant must be proved guilty by reasonable doubt, the burden of proof being the prosecution to prove the jury's satisfaction of the guilt concludes that the probability of the accused being guilty on the charges is no less than 100%. Should there be any doubt of their guilt, and they cannot be prosecuted for their alleged actions. Colorado's burglary and homicide laws exist to protect our citizens and serve justice to the unfortunate victims of such atrocities. By accusing an innocent person of committing such a crime, the real assailant walks free without consequence. Mackenzie Brackman devoted his life to seeking out truth and justice, a sentiment I hope each and every one of you hold also, especially considering the circumstances of this trial. Considering those circumstances, is it our duty not to ensure that the right of every individual is held accountable for their crimes committed? For these reasons, after you've heard all of the evidence and the end of the trial, we ask you to return a verdict of not guilty for Mr. Brockman, for Colorado High School, and for all of our sake. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Brown. First witness for the people, please.
Your Honor, the people call Detective Jordan Markowitz to the stand.
All right. Let me know when you see him there, counsel. Where's Detective Markowitz?
Your Honor, Detective Markowitz is wearing a blue suit.
I see Detective Markowitz. Go right ahead, counsel. You may proceed.
Good evening, Detective. Please introduce yourself to the jury.
Good evening. My name is Jordan Markowitz. That's Markowitz.
Detective, what do you do for a living?
I'm a homicide detective with the Denver Police Department.
How long have you been on the force?
I started my career with the DPD about 13 years ago, and I've been a detective for the past 7.
Have you acquired any specialized skills that other police officers don't have?
Yes, sir. After 13 years of being on the force, I have grown and developed many skills, especially skills concerning forensic data recovery and cell phones.
Do you have any certifications?
Yes, I actually took a class and was certified by the American Academy of Law Enforcement.
What did you have to do to get that certification?
I attended an extensive 3-day course where I learned the ins and outs of cell phone technology and forensic data recovery.
How often do you use your skills?
I use my skills every day on my job.
Your Honor, the people request the court to recognize Detective Markowitz as an expert in the field of cell phone technology, forensic data recovery, and crime scene investigation. Pursuant to Rule 702, his skill, knowledge, education, experience, and training have all been shown, and his testimony will assist the juror in understanding the facts of this case.
All right, defense position on the qualification.
No objections, Your Honor.
All right, the witness shall be so qualified as an expert in those fields. You may proceed, counsel.
Detective, did you form an opinion in today's case?
Yes, sir, I did.
How did you form that opinion?
As someone who works to collect and interpret evidence, it is crucial that I remove myself and any personal bias that I may have. As an experienced homicide detective, I never try to take the case where I think it should go. I follow the evidence and go where it takes me.
Let's start at the beginning. Friday, March 6th. What happened that day?
I received a call to 444 South Flower Street near Broomfield, Colorado. I arrived at approximately 1400 hours.
Detective, upon arriving at the scene, what did you discover?
There, I found a Caucasian male, approximately 50 years old. He had been stabbed 1 centimeter below his left inferior scapular angle and had died of exsanguination.
How did you start investigating this crime?
After examining the body, I began to work backwards. I noticed there was a trail of blood leading back to the kitchen, so I followed it.
What did you discover in the kitchen?
In the kitchen, I discovered a knocked over chair, a broken plate, a knife drawer open, and a knife missing from the knife block.
Did you investigate any other part of the house?
Yes, sir, I did. After clearing the kitchen and the entire inside of the house, I began investigating around the outside of the house.
Upon investigating the outside of the house, what did you discover?
I found 3 different ring security systems, one at the front door, one at the side gate, and one at the back door.
What can be seen on these ring videos?
In these ring videos, from the perspective of the one at the front door, you can see an intruder come up wearing a mask, a big hoodie, and gloves. They attempted to enter the front door, in which they were unsuccessful. So they moved around to the back door where they were able to enter.
Detective, based on all the evidence you discovered at the scene and in light of your experience as a detective, what do you think happened on Friday, March 6th?
Based on the number of homicides I have investigated, it seemed fairly simple. The victim had caught the intruder breaking into the home and had likely confronted the intruder with a large knife from the kitchen. Then a struggle ensued, but the intruder must have gotten control of the knife and stabbed the victim. It seemed most likely that the victim ran to the front door, either being chased by the intruder or running after them before he fell dead.
Detective, let's talk about Avery Becker. What initially caused you to suspect the defendant?
So first thing I did in my investigation was I downloaded the contents of Mr. Brackman's phone. I discovered that he was involved with mock trial at CHS, Colorado High School. And judging by the number of emails and texts he received, he was extremely involved. Through this involvement, I was able to get in touch with one of the team members, Alex Cifuentes.
How did you get in touch with Ms. Cifuentes?
Through the contact list on Mr. Brackman's phone, I actually called Alex Cifuentes. He told me about a threat made by Avery Becker. So I called Alex Cifuentes down for a formal interview.
And did you learn anything else from Ms. Cifuentes?
Yes, sir, I did. I also learned from the interview that the defendant sent texts to Alex Cifuentes, pleading with him for help to get back on the team.
Detective, do you have Exhibit 14 in front of you?
Yes, sir, I do.
What is Exhibit 14?
This is a copy of the text messages, a screenshot that I received from Alex Cifuentes.
Is this a fair and accurate representation? Is this a fair and accurate copy of those screenshots?
Yes, sir, it is.
Your Honor, at this time, the people request that Exhibit 14 be admitted to evidence for its accuracy and authenticity have been shown.
As to Exhibit 14 from the defense,
No objections, Your Honor.
14 shall be admitted. You may proceed.
Your Honor, permission for my co-counsel to publish to the jury.
Permission is granted.
Detective Markowitz, specifically, how did these texts lead you to arrest the defendant?
There are 2 texts in particular. First, the one where the defendant says, well, if he's upset about his car, then he's going to be really upset when I see what I do to his house. The second one being, I'm going to wait until he's at work, then break in and trash it.
Well, other than that, Detective, what else led you to arrest the defendant?
Upon further examination, call detail records provided information about the location of the defendant's phone on the day of March 6th.
Detective, what are call detail records?
Call detail records, or CDRs, are accurate records of when phone calls or text messages were sent and received to a specific phone.
Detective, do you have Exhibit 16 in front of you?
Yes, sir, I do.
What is Exhibit 16?
This is a copy of a map that I overlaid with cell towers and their arcs.
Is this a fair and accurate copy of that map and diagramming you made?
Yes, sir, it is.
Your Honor, the people request to the admittance of Exhibit 16 into evidence for its accuracy and authenticity have been shown.
You said 16-1-6, counsel?
Yes, 16, Your Honor.
All right, what's the defense position as to exhibit 16?
No objections, Your Honor.
16 will be admitted. You may proceed.
Permission for my co-counsel to publish Exhibit 16 to the jury.
Permission is granted.
Detective Markowitz, what is this map?
This is the map that I made with overlaying cell towers, and in the red, you can see their arcs. I also pointed out key points on the map and drew a line between connecting what I believe was the defendant's most likely path.
Detective Markowitz, how did this aid you in your investigation?
This aided me because if you look at the map, the first ping, as you can see in the top left at the tower by Centura Health, was made at 12:47. The second ping was made at 12:55 at the antenna by West Flatirons Crossing Drive. Then the tower in the bottom left, covering the defendant's phone, pings 3 different times at 13:05, 13:06, and 13:17. This clearly shows that the defendant's phone was in the cell tower arc of the victim's home.
How accurate are these call detail records?
These call detail records are extremely accurate. Cell phones use an extensive algorithm to connect to the tower that provides the best service. While this does mean in instances of high cell tower traffic, it might not connect the closest tower. However, in this case, 3 separate pings to the same tower clearly indicates that the phone was in that vicinity.
Detective Markowitz, are you aware that the defendant claims he was at the mall during the time of the murder?
Yes, sir, I am.
And why would that be unlikely?
Judging by the location of the defendant's phone, it would be very unlikely that his phone would ping 3 times to the tower covering Mr. Brackman's home, a tower that does not cover the Fry Shack or the mall.
Detective Markowitz, let's talk about your conclusions in today's case. Have you reached any expert conclusions?
Yes, sir.
What is that conclusion?
In my expert opinion, first, the intruder, Avery Becker, tried to enter through the front door but was unsuccessful. So they moved around to the back door where they were able to unlawfully enter the home of Mr. Brackman, in which events pursued that ended with Mr. Brackman being stabbed in the kitchen before moving and bleeding out at his front door.
Thank you, Detective. Your Honor, I have no further questions at this time.
All right, thank you. Any cross-examination from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Markowitz, during your time of observation on 444 South Flower Street, you spoke of the blood splatter in the house, correct?
There was blood splatter by the front door. It had sprayed to the wall and the ceiling.
And you also stated that you did not proceed to the location of the knife, correct?
I don't work by myself on these cases. I actually have a team that works with me. I conducted one of my team members to go and bag and tag the knife.
And so your forensic team was responsible for helping you and aiding you in this process as well, right?
Of course they were.
And you were also categorized the marks on the ceiling as cast-off marks, correct?
Cast-off marks, I say that, but I'm not a blood analysis expert.
And that is despite the fact that this location was not photographed, correct?
This location was photographed. However, the photos unfortunately ended up in a corrupted file.
And okay, so moving on, you stated that the knife was found in position near the body, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you stated also that based off of your research, Brackman seemed to be running away during the time of the crime.
He was either running away from the victim or chasing after them. It is unclear from the evidence presented at the crime scene.
And detective, so you stated that in your testimony you have met Brackman before, correct?
That is correct.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance. Detective Markowitz's relationship with the victim has no pertinent value in this case.
That response?
I believe that this is responsible because it shows possible bias to the case.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Briefly.
Your Honor, bias towards a victim has no value to the determining whether or not Avery Becker committed this crime.
Right. I'm going to overrule the objection. Hold on. I'm going to overrule the objection. The question can be answered. So if you want to ask that question again, counsel.
Yes, Your Honor. You stated in your testimony that you have met Mr. Brockman before, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And regarding the cell phone claims, Avery Becker claimed to have lost his phone the day before the murder, correct?
He makes these claims. However, I am unsure the validity of these statements.
And you claim to believe that Becker, was not telling the truth about losing his phone the day of the crime, correct?
I did not take that for face value. So no, I did not.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Any redirect from the people?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. You may proceed.
Detective Markowitz, does your opinion about the victim in this case have any effect on your ultimate opinion?
No, sir. As I said before, I remove any personal bias that I may have from any investigation that I am assigned to. I did not let my previous knowledge of the victim hinder my investigation in any way whatsoever.
Detective, were there photographs taken of the blood spatter?
Yes, sir. The crime scene photographer took them. However, unfortunately, they ended up in a corrupted file due to no malice, just an unfortunate circumstance.
Detective, in your opinion, and in light of Ms. Gray's cross-examination, what is your opinion for who committed this crime?
It is still my opinion today that Avery Becker entered the home of the victim, Mr. Brackman, in which events pursued that ended with Mr. Brackman being stabbed in the back in the kitchen before moving, falling at his front door, and bleeding out.
Thank you, Detective. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
All right. Thank you very much, Detective. You can step down. The court is not going to permit recross. So we'll proceed to the people's next witness, please.
Yes, Your Honor. The people call Mr. Kuzak to the stand.
All right. Do I have Mr. Kuzak? One sec. Is Mr. Kuzak there? I think I see Mr. Kuzak. All right, counsel, you may proceed.
Good evening, Mr. Kuzak.
Good evening.
My name is Madeline Proctor. Please introduce yourself to the jury.
Yes, Ms. Proctor. My name is Cal Kuzak. Last name spelled K-U-Z-A-K.
Mr. Kuzak, what do you do for a living?
I am a Colorado Bureau of Investigation certified crime scene reconstruction investigator. For simplicity's sake, we're typically known as CSRs.
What does a crime scene reconstructionist typically do?
Well, typically we're civilian employees of the police, so not police officers or detectives, and we normally go and help the police put together what happened on the day of the crime.
And if you don't work for the police, who do you work for?
Well, no, I do work for the police, for the Denver Police Department to be specific. I just work for them as a civilian employee.
How long have you worked for the Denver Police Department?
I've been with them for 3 years now, but I have over 19 years of experience in the field.
And what sort of cases do you typically handle?
Well, there's no one sort of case I typically handle. I handle a wide variety of crime scenes. I handle property crimes like home invasions and burglaries. I also handle homicides, domestic violence cases, armed robberies. Some of the cases I've done I've found were actually fatal accidents where no crime had occurred.
Your Honor, at this time, the people request that Mr. Kuzak be admitted as an expert in the field of crime scene reconstruction as pursuant to Rule 702. His skill, knowledge, education, experience, and training have all been shown, and his testimony will assist the jury in understanding the facts of this case.
All right, defense position as to the qualification.
Your Honor, I would like to voir dire the witness.
You may.
Mr. Kuzak, do you have any proof of formal education in the field of crime scene reconstruction?
Yes, my certification by the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. That does take formal training to get.
But can you prove that you had a formal education, college experience?
This is outside my statement. Would you like me to answer?
No, we can move on. Isn't it true that you know Professor Blake Vano and the expert witness for the defense personally?
Yes, not as a friend, but I know of him.
You've met him before.
Yes, that is correct, at various CSR conferences.
Your Honor, I object to the entrance of Kyle Kuzak as an expert witness on the grounds of possible bias.
Response, Your Honor.
Briefly.
Bias does not go to the entering of an expert, to the recognition of an expert under Rule 702, simply the qualifications of skill, knowledge, experience, education, and training. If Miss Frau would like to explore bias or some other form of credibility in her cross-examination, she's welcome to. But Mr. Kuzak is wholly qualified to testify as an expert.
All right, over objection of the defense, I will qualify this witness in that area of expertise, specifically crime scene reconstruction. You may proceed, counsel.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Kuzak, is there a particular method that experts in your field follow?
Absolutely. It's called Ross and Gardner's 5-step method.
Tell us more about Ross and Gardner's method.
It's a comprehensive 5-step method that involves recognition, collection of evidence, evaluation of evidence, hypothesis and testing, and then, of course, reconstruction.
And did you use Ross and Gardner's method in today's case?
I use it in all my cases.
Let's talk about that. Starting with step 1, how did you implement step 1 in today's case?
For step 1, I organized the different witnesses and the piece of evidence they provided me with in various spreadsheets and flowcharts.
And then from there, how did you progress with step 2?
For step 2, I gathered evidence from the police, and I also viewed the crime scene personally.
What is step 2 again?
Step 2 would be collection of evidence, Ms. Proctor.
And what about step 3?
Step 3 is the evaluation of that evidence. So starting to put that evidence together to form event segments.
So steps 2 and 3 have to do a lot with evidence. What evidence did you use in your reconstruction?
My job revolves around evidence. I used the entirety of the crime scene to help form my conclusions today. So there was a chair that had been knocked over on the ground, there was a broken plate, there were scuff marks, there was an open knife drawer, a knife block, there was the ring security footage, which Detective Markowitz sent me afterwards. And of course, there was also the victim's body and the murder weapon.
All right, let's start with the victim's body and the murder weapon. How did that evidence help you reach your reconstruction?
In combination, these two pieces of evidence demonstrated two crucial facts to me, namely that Mr. Brackman was stabbed and that he died of exsanguination after removing the knife from his back himself.
Do you know what the murder weapon was?
Yes, I do. It was the knife found near his body by the front door.
Do you know where it came from?
Yes. It is my conclusion that it came from the knife block on the counter. However, it is also possible that it may have come from the open knife drawer.
Why would it be more likely to come from the knife block than the knife drawer?
This would explain the open slot in the knife block, and it also makes sense that he would grab the knife as the handle would have been very prominent and immediately accessible.
Okay, now let's talk about the chair, the broken plate, and the scuff marks. What did that evidence tell you?
These pieces of evidence together are evidence of an altercation.
Elaborate on that altercation.
Well, using these pieces of evidence, I can roughly guess how Mr. Brackman and the intruder progressed through the house.
So did you find any, or did you receive any other evidence for today's case?
Yes, as I said, I received all evidence the police used in their investigation. Detective Markowitz specifically sent me the free ring videos he downloaded.
What did the ring videos tell you?
The ring videos showed me how the intruder moved around the house, and also gave me, it showed how the intruder moved around the house.
And so after, with all of this evidence in mind, let's skip ahead to the final step. I apologize for my dogs. Did you complete a reconstruction for today's case?
Yes, I did. I completed one and sent it in to Detective Markowitz.
What was that reconstruction?
So the crime scene, as I reconstructed it, proceeded as follows. The intruder walked up to the front door and, finding it to be locked, moved through the side gate and the back door. Mr. Brackman was alerted by the ring videos that were triggered when the intruder moved around the house. He was also alerted by the opening sliding door. He rushed to grab weapons to defend himself. The intruder was already in the house. They struggled briefly. He was stabbed and he bled out near the front door.
And with your reconstruction, were you able to reach a conclusion in today's case?
Yes, I was.
Tell us about that conclusion.
Well, put concisely, my conclusion would be that Mr. Brackman's death was the result of a burglary gone wrong.
Thank you, Mr. Kuzak. Your Honor, I have no further questions at this time.
All right, thank you. Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. First of all, did you visit the crime scene before or after it was processed initially?
After it was initially processed by the police.
And in these videos captured by the Ring doorbells that you reference, is there any substantial proof that the intruder is Avery Becker?
No, that's outside my area of expertise as a CSR.
All right. And the intruder was wearing gloves, correct?
Along with a hoodie and a mask, yes.
So there was no DNA evidence left at the scene of the crime that would link Avery Becker to the crime scene?
None that would link Avery Becker or anyone else to the crime scene. The only DNA evidence was from Mr. Brackman.
Thank you. And anywhere else in your investigation, did you come upon evidence that proves that Avery Becker was the intruder and murderer?
No, again, I'm just a CSR. I send my report into Detective Markowitz and he figures out who did it.
All right, no further questions, Your Honor.
Based upon those questions, any redirect, counsel?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Kuzak, is it normal for you to visit the crime scene after the police have already processed it?
Yes, this is normal, given how the police contacts me.
And as a CSR, is it your job to determine who committed this crime?
No, I'm not qualified for that. That is the detective's job. Again, I complete my report and send it in.
And given Ms. Frau's cross-examination, do you still have a conclusion for today's case?
Yes, my conclusion about Mr. Brackman's death does remain unchanged.
What is that conclusion?
That conclusion is, again, that his death was the result of a planned burglary gone wrong.
Thank you, Mr. Kuzak. Your Honor, I have no further questions at this time.
All right, thank you very much, counsel. As I say, I'm not going to allow recross today. Third witness for the people, if any.
Your Honor, the people call Alex Cifuentes to the stand.
All right, let's see if we got Mr. Cifuentes. Let's see, do I have Mr. Cifuentes? Ms. Cifuentes, excuse me, I apologize. All right, counsel, you may proceed.
Good evening, Ms. Cifuentes. My name is Feliciana Sayers. Please introduce yourself to the jury.
Good evening, Miss Sayers. I am Alexa Fuentes, Sifuentes.
Ms. Cifuentes, let's start with Avery Becker. How do you know him?
Me and Avery, we were teammates on the mock trial team at CHS. He actually got me to join my freshman year.
What is mock trial?
Mock trial is so much fun. It's like a bunch of nerds hanging out. We're given a case every year and you have a team and some people are witnesses, other people are lawyers, and we actually get to go to a real courthouse with a real judge and try the case. Unless you're in a global pandemic, then you go to Zoom.
How did Mr. Becker fit into your mock trial team?
Avery was a lawyer, but he would constantly show up unprepared and late to practice.
How did this affect your team?
Well, it stressed us out a lot and caused a lot of anxiety. When everyone else on the team is working really, really hard, especially going up to the regional tournament, which is super important to go to state, and one person isn't working hard, it's extremely stressful.
I understand. And let's talk about Coach Brackman. Who was he to you?
Coach Brackman was an amazing coach. We both believed that working hard was the way to succeed. I actually think he saw a bit of himself in me at times. It's really sad knowing that he's gone. I just really miss him.
Ms. Fuentes, I understand this is hard for you, but we are going to continue. What was Coach Brackman and Mr. Becker's relationship like?
Objection, Your Honor. Rule 602, lack of personal knowledge.
Response?
Your Honor, Ms. Fuentes was there at all the mock trial practices. She saw how Coach Brackman and Mr. Becker interacted. She can testify as to her knowledge on this issue.
All right, the objection is overruled. You can answer the question.
What was Coach Brackman and Mr. Becker's relationship like?
It wasn't the best, to say the least. They were just so different. You know, Avery was just kind of making things up on the fly and just unprepared. And Coach really valued working hard and having scripts. And this just caused them to argue almost every practice.
Tell us about some of those arguments.
Most of the time it was over minor things. It just was so often. But like the first big argument like that made us go, wow, was Avery showed up really late to practice. Like, what was he doing? Getting Starbucks? But he just showed up really late and it made Coach just so mad and he actually demoted him to B team.
Did Mr. Becker ever get back on the A team?
Yeah, he got Taylor Perkins to quit so he could be reinstated.
Who is Taylor Perkins?
Do you know Batman and Robin? Well, I would say Taylor Perkins is Avery's Robin.
Were there any other fights between Coach Brackman and Mr. Becker that you can recall?
Yeah, after the regional tournament, Coach was just debriefing us, telling us how we could be better going into state. And Avery started flipping out. Like, Coach was just telling him that you need to work harder, that what you're doing would be considered malpractice in the real world. And Avery just stormed out of practice.
What did Mr. Becker do when he stormed out?
He took a marker and wrote Worst Attorney Award on Coach's car.
What was Coach Brackman's response?
He kicked him off the team. Like, that's a punishable offense by law. Of course, the mock trial team would have some issues with that.
Did Mr. Becker reach out to you after that incident?
Yeah, me and Avery are really good friends. So, of course, he reached out asking for my help. Well, more like begging for my help to get back on the team. That kid was desperate.
Would you recognize those text messages?
Yes, I would.
Ms. Fuentes, you should have Exhibit 14 in front of you.
I do.
And what is Exhibit 14?
These are the text messages between me and Avery.
And how do you know that Mr. Becker sent them?
Well, it says Avery's name at the top, but we texted all the time. We were really good friends, so I don't know who else they would be from.
And did you do anything with these texts when you received them?
At first, I didn't do anything, I just thought it was Avery being Avery. But after I got a call from Detective Markowitz, I gave them to him.
And what did Detective Markowitz do?
Well, he called me up asking me to come give him the text and come for an interview. And we just kind of talked about some things. And then he asked for the text messages. And I realized I forgot my phone at my house. It was plugged into the wall charging. I offered to get it, but he said screenshots were fine. And it sounds like, based off what I heard today, that he used them for his investigation.
Now, Ms. Fuentes, let's talk about the content of those text messages. Your Honor, I request that Exhibit 14 be shown to the jury.
You may publish 14.
Did any text messages stand out to you in particular?
Yeah, if you look at one of Avery's text messages, it's like the first page, if you could see it. Yeah, it starts with well. It says, well, Avery makes a direct threat at Coach saying, well, if he's upset about his car, then he's going to be really upset when he sees what I do to his house.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay, Rule 801.
Response, Your Honor.
Yes.
Your Honor, this is not hearsay. These texts have already been admitted into evidence, and even if they weren't, this is under 801 D2A. This is the statement of a party opponent making these admissible.
All right, the objection is overruled. The exhibit's already been admitted and they are not hearsay. You may proceed.
Were there any other texts that Mr. Becker sent that seemed like he was telling you a plan?
Yeah, if you look at one of his last text messages, yeah, that one. It says, I'm going to wait till he's at work, then break in and trash it.
Thank you, Ms. Fuentes. I have no further questions at this time.
All right, any cross-examination from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Good evening, Ms. Perkins. So let's begin by discussing your relationship with Avery Becker.
I'm sorry.
Pardon?
I'm Alex Fuentes.
Oh, my bad. Okay. Good evening, Mrs. Fuentes.
Good evening.
Let's begin by discussing your relationship with Avery Becker. So you both went to the same school, correct?
Yeah, CHS.
And you were on mock trial together.
Yeah, it was so much fun. Just a bunch of nerds hanging out and going to the frat shack. What a time.
And you two were friends, right?
Like, such good friends. I would say we're almost best friends. Like, as I said before, he's the one who actually got me to join the mock trial team when I was a freshman. Like, it was great.
So from your perspective, was Avery good at mock trial?
Avery was good at like making things up on the fly, but he just was constantly unprepared, which I don't know.
Was he very easy to work with?
I can't exactly say that. We were like kind of worked on different sides of the case, but I would say not really, given like he wasn't really prepared and I was a really, really, really hard worker. Like I would actually start working on my closings and openings the day I got my assignments.
So did that frustrate you that maybe he was a little bit difficult to work with?
It was definitely frustrating, but you know, Avery's my friend and I don't know. I know I have to work hard. I can't really control him and I always did my best.
And Taylor Perkins left the club, is that correct?
Yeah, she did. Was to get Avery reinstated.
Did that ease any of your frustration?
Like, it's kind of them. It was a bit frustrating, and I know the team was really frustrated when Avery got reinstated, but, you know, I had no control over the situation.
From your viewpoint, was Mr. Brackman very easy on Avery?
No, I would say like there was just a lot of arguments and stuff, so their relationship was definitely had a lot of tension, which I would say is just not the best.
Mm-hmm. And from what you saw, do you think Avery liked Mr. Brackman?
Honestly, not really. It just seemed like there was just so much tension that it was just so upsetting. And he vandalized his car. Like, who does that?
So they had a pretty strained relationship, right?
Yeah.
And they had an argument the day before the murder, is that correct?
The day before the murder, I believe their last argument was when he vandalized the car. So I can't really speak to that. All I know is that Avery texted me the day before the murder.
Right. So Mr. Brackman kicked Avery off of the team after his car was vandalized, right?
Yeah.
And that opened up a bigger role for you on the team. Is that correct?
It did. I'm disappointed that it was Avery's position, but I was excited to do my best and I was going to do the best I could for my team.
And Avery asked you to speak to Mr. Brackman about letting him return, right?
Yeah, I told him that I would try to help.
And you did speak to him, correct?
I did speak to Mr. Brackman, but I told Avery that Brackman wasn't backing down, and it was just, I tried, I made an impassioned plea, but it didn't work out.
So you were unsuccessful.
I was.
Now, about the evidence that you provided. You claim that Avery told you about his plan to vandalize the home of Mr. Brackman, right?
I don't claim. That's what Avery told me. He literally texted me that.
And yeah, you were told this information via a text from Avery, right?
Yep, a text that was sent to my phone.
But you no longer have access to that phone anymore, correct?
I actually had to trade it in. Its battery was absolutely terrible. That's why I forgot it. It's so bad, and you always have to keep it charging. And I just needed something that could like at least sustain a day.
You just have the screenshots that you gave to the police, just for clarification.
Which Detective Markowitz said was perfectly fine.
And you've also had access to Avery's phone after their removal from the team, correct?
Well, we were just like playing video games. We were actually playing Among Us. It's really fun. Highly recommend. But I don't know. It was in Avery's sight the entire time, and Avery had it afterwards. So,
is that a yes or a no?
I just said yes. I explained it to you.
And this was at the Fry Shack, correct?
Yeah, its fries are bomb. It's great.
And this was the same phone that you claimed the incriminating texts were sent from?
Could you repeat? I'm sorry, you cut out.
This was the same phone that you claim you got these texts from, correct?
Yeah, well, it was Avery's phone, but I'm not claiming. I received text from Avery and it said what I discussed earlier.
And this was on the night that they were sent, correct?
I guess so. But I don't know. I was just playing games on the phone. I don't know. It was in Avery's sight the entire time, so.
I see. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, any redirect for the people?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Ms. Cifuentes, tell us about your relationship with Miss Becker.
Me and Avery were really good friends. You know, we were teammates. But it was, I would say overall, it was really great. We were just almost best friends. It was nice.
And regarding Miss Becker's phone, the night you had it, was it ever out of Mr. Becker's eye line?
Of course not. I'm telling you, Avery loved that phone more than anything. It was never out of his sight. He would not even it just, I don't know. I just kind of gave it back to him afterwards.
And was there any point in time where you could have texted yourself those text messages?
No.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions at this time.
All right, thank you very much. As I say, I'm not going to allow recross today. However, I've been flying along and I want to give our scoring panelists a moment to catch up if they need to. So we'll take a brief moment to allow the scoring panelists to catch up.
I'm good, Your Honor.
All right.
I am as well, Your Honor.
Me as well, Your Honor.
We have some excellent scoring panelists. All right. We'll turn to any further witnesses from the people?
No, Your Honor, the people rest their case in chief.
All right. The people having rested, does the defense wish to call any witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, I wish to call Avery Becker to the stand.
All right.
May I proceed?
Well, let me see if I can see. Is it Miss Becker? Is that Miss Becker?
It's Mr. Becker.
Mr. Becker, I apologize. All right. You may proceed, counsel.
Thank you. Mr. Becker, to start off, may you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Hey, everyone. My name is Avery Becker. And just so you all know, that's Becker.
Thank you, Avery. And now, where did you go to school last year?
Well, last year I was a senior at Colorado High School, or CHS as we called it. Shout out to CHS.
And what clubs did you participate during your time at Colorado High School?
Well, I was a CHS mocker all 4 years. All 4 years, everyone. That's all 4 years.
And Avery, were you good at mock trial?
Yes, I was. I was really good at cross and closings. And at regionals last year, I even won a Best Attorney Award and was named Best Closer. Out of everyone, I was named Best Closer. I mean, I can't help that I'm perfect. Forward to winning Best Attorney in the state award, but I got kicked off the team before then. It's hard to talk about.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Becker. And who was your mock trial coach?
That would be Mr. Brackman, a local trial attorney. He coached our mock trial team. We had beef.
And can you describe your relationship with Mr. Brackman?
Well, me and Mr. Brackman just did not vibe because he always thought I needed to work harder and said that I was lazy and didn't put in the work. I mean, seriously, that's an old argument. But I loved mock trial. I was a CHS mocker. It's in my blood. And I was really good at doing it on the fly. Again, can't help that I'm perfect. Some of the other team members could work hard all the time and never cross someone like I could. I won Best Attorney Award at regionals, so I was obviously doing something right. But Brackman was so full of himself. I mean, that is like black energy. I only do pink energy. And I think that he hated me because he was as good as I was. I had more natural talent. However, even though Brackman detested my work ethic, he always let me direct the experts because he knew that I would help CHS bring home that win. He also gave me closings because I could listen to the other side and then tear them to shreds.
Thank you, Mr. Brackman, and or Mr. Becker, excuse me. And now can you tell us about your relationship with Taylor Perkins and everything about her as well?
Oh my gosh, of course. So Taylor was
narrative, calls for narrative, telling us or asking Mr. Becker to explain everything about Taylor Perkins is clearly calling for narrative.
Response?
May I restate the question?
You may.
Thank you, Avery. Now, can you tell us about Taylor Perkins?
Of course. Taylor was my best friend in the entire universe, soulmates, life. Oh my gosh. We joined mock trial our freshman year as a fun way to get out of the house and spend some time together. I mean, I admit it. Sometimes you text each other from across the room, but like, that's fine. I mean, sometimes you just have to do that. It's just the way life is.
And what was your role in mock trial last year?
Okay, well, originally I was on a team, acting as the attorney who directed the mother's nurse and like crossed her doctor. And I was also in charge of closing. As I have mentioned, that is my strong suit. However, about a month before the regional tournament, Brackman started his rampage and diatribe about my lack of preparation before practice. That's not the energy I cultivate in my aura. I tried to say something, but he cut me off and bumped me down to the B team. Can you imagine how humiliating that is for me? I mean, I was bumped down. He said I would have to cross the dog walker. I mean, please, instead of the doctor, and I could no longer do the closing. I was admittedly very angry, as any normal human would have been in the situation. I tried to say something, but he cut me off. I tried everything to convince Brockman to put me back on the A team, but he refused. Taylor felt bad for me and the team because we both knew that without me, the A team would never win. She suggested that she quit mock trial so Brockman would have no choice but to put me back on the team. You see, Taylor never loved mock trial the way I did.
Objection, Your Honor. This is narrative again. This is going away from the original question and is going into all of the details about Taylor Perkins and his relationship, as well as the actions of Taylor Perkins in regard to quitting the mock trial team for him to be reinstated.
Any response, counsel?
I believe that the question opened the door for my defendant to speak to this case as well, and to speak to the merit of it overall, to lay foundation for future questions as well.
All right. The jury has already heard the testimony. I'm going to overrule the objection and ask that you move along, counsel. Next question, please.
And Mr. Becker, how did Brockman react to your awards?
Get this, everyone. Brockman wasn't happy, and he refused to congratulate me for my awards. At the first practice after regionals, I was starting to write on the whiteboard when he started right on again that same diatribe about how I should have followed his stupid script and said I didn't deserve the best attorney award right in front of the rest of the team. Humiliating. He said my closing was just lucky, that I wouldn't fare as well at state, and that I just relied on my good looks. I mean, they are great. Like, that's true. Like, they're fantastic, but that's not true. I mean, let's think about that.
And
we
how
won the
did that
tournament.
make you feel?
Oh my God. It is so hard for me to talk about. I mean, I was angry. I was hurt. I was betrayed. I called him the worst coach in the state. I took an oath of honesty after all, and I told him that if it wasn't for me and a couple of other people, our team would have lost regionals and we wouldn't even be going to state. I mean, this is like so hard for me to talk about.
And
I know that this isn't true. Sorry, what did you say?
So what did you do then, Mr. Becker?
Well, I was hurt and tired of being insulted, so I left practice. The marker I had been about to use right on the whiteboard was still in my hand. It was a dry erase marker, guys. I thought it was a dry erase marker. And of course, the first thing that I saw when I left the school was obnoxious white Porsche. I don't do Porsche, please. His license plate said litigator with an 8. I mean, we aren't Paris Hilton. We don't need that kind of thing in our face. I've done some pretty dumb things in my life, but what I did was one of the worst things ever. Oh my God, I'm not gonna cry. I took the marker and wrote across the hood of his car, worst attorney award. I'm not proud of it. I thought it was a dry erase marker. I really wish I could take it back, and it scars me to this day.
And when did Brockman find out about this?
After I wrote in his car, I stood there for a few moments, paralyzed by what I had done. And then Brockman came out and started to apologize how he had treated me, as he should have. Then he saw what I did to his car and rightfully exploded. I mean, I would have exploded too. I feel so terrible about that. He kicked me off the team for good.
And how did you react to being kicked off the team?
Well, I went home and cried. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I cried. I told my mom, shout out to her, Queen Mom, about how Brockman had yelled at me all practice instead of congratulating me on my good job. So I walked out. I didn't tell her right away about what I did to his car. I was still paralyzed. My aura was clouded and it was difficult for me to form sentences. I cried and cried the whole time when I was talking to her. I was devastated and couldn't believe my mock trial career was over just like that. I mean, you'd be shocked too.
So what did you do then? Did you apologize to Mr. Brackman?
Well, I tried to. I went to his office the next day and I told his secretary that I absolutely needed to talk to him. So she went to check for him. She came out and said that Brockman was busy and didn't want to talk to me. I wanted to apologize.
Hearsay?
Johns?
Your Honor, I believe that this is going to the testimony, or we could rephrase as well. What either is fine.
I'll sustain the objection to the question as asked. You can rephrase the question if you wish.
Mr. Becker, did you apologize to Mr. Brackman?
Yes, I tried to at least. I went to his office the next day and I told his secretary that I needed to talk to him. She went to go check for him. She brought back the very rude message that he did not want to speak to me. Very upset about that. Doesn't matter. I wanted to apologize in person, but that didn't really seem to be an option. So I sent him a text and I said that I was really sorry for what I did to his car. I told him how I thought it was a dry erase marker and would simply wipe off. I even said that I would get a job over the summer to pay for it.
And can you describe what you did after school on March 5th, the day before Mr. Brackman was killed?
Yes. Taylor and I went to the Fry Shack, the local burger place where everyone from CHS goes after school. Not that I ate anything, but like I went for Taylor. There were actually a bunch of CHS mockers there, including Alex Cifuentes.
And the next day on March 6th, what happened after you woke up?
I was gripped by white hot panic. I could not find my phone. It was gone.
Do you remember the last time you had it?
Well, I could remember using it when me and Taylor played video games at the Fry Shack, but I wasn't allowed to use my phone until after dinner and until like my homework was finished. So it's not surprising that I didn't notice it was gone until I found out.
And what did you do next?
Okay. So I flew around, me and my best friend in the entire world. We went to the Fry Shack. We looked everywhere. We looked around the mall because that's where we went after, and we couldn't find it. It was gone.
And did you ever go to Mr. Brackman's house?
No, I did not go to Mr. Brackman's house. I don't know what you do with your mock trial, coach, but you don't.
And did you ever text with Alex Cifuentes?
No, Alex and I are not friends. She's a walking basket case and is a mess when she speaks. I don't cultivate people like that in my life. She just wanted to win the Best Attorney Award. She wanted to be me. Just saying.
And what was your relationship with Blair Rowlands?
Blair is probably the only person who hated Brockman more than I did. He lost the case that got her father sent to jail. Like, can you imagine that? Like, ooh.
And have you seen Blair recently?
No, I haven't. I don't think anyone else has either. Blair has fallen off the face of the earth. But like my lawyer showed me those like ring video things, and you can't see the person's face. Anyone seeing Blair or me walking away could confuse the two of us, and the same size, which I don't even know how that's possible. But like, I mean, that could have been the case. That's a compliment, by the way.
Absolutely. So did you go to Mr. Brackman's house on March 6th?
No. I know the police think I did because of some cell towers meaning something about something. I don't know. But I didn't even know where he lived. I did nothing to Brackman other than write on his porch with a permanent marker that I thought was dry erase. And like I said before, I am not in the way of socializing privately with my mock trial coaches.
Thank you for your time today, Avery. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any cross-examination from the people?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Good evening, Mr. Becker.
Hey.
My name is Madeline Proctor. Let's start with the mock trial team, which I know you loved, right?
Oh my gosh, more than life itself, madam.
You thought you were the best attorney on the entire team.
I mean, let the record speak for itself, of course.
But Coach Brackman didn't agree with you.
No.
And let's talk about Coach Brackman for a minute. You thought that you were a better attorney than him too.
That is something that I thought, yes.
In fact, even after his murder, which is why we're here today, you still say that.
I still say that. That is correct.
And
however, actually,
thank you, Mr. Becker.
Yes.
And even after his murder, you still say that a bunch of negative comments about his white Porsche, correct?
Yes, it was obnoxious.
But he's the one with the ego.
Hell yeah. Sorry. Yes.
You two would argue at every single mock trial practice.
Essentially.
And after one argument, you were demoted to the B team.
Yeah.
Right. That was humiliating, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Because you thought the B team was full of losers.
I wouldn't say full of losers, but it was certainly
Mr.
beneath
Becker,
my
is
ability.
it your testimony here today that you would not say the B team is full of losers?
Actually, yes, I would. It was full of losers. We're being transparent. Yes, it was. It was full of losers.
And you tried everything, every possible thing to get back onto A team.
Yes.
None of it worked at first?
No, that's correct. Nothing did.
Until your best friend in the entire world, Taylor Perkins, quit the team for you.
Shout out to her.
Right, and Miss Perkins is the same person you claimed to be with on March 6th.
That's correct.
The only person.
Again,
I'm sorry, you cut out for a moment. Was that a yes?
yes, sorry. That is correct.
And just before regionals, Coach Brackman had to take you back.
Yes.
And at regionals, you won some awards, right?
Yes, I did.
Except for afterwards, Coach Brackman said you didn't deserve those awards.
Again, true.
That made you mad.
It hurt me. Yes, it made me upset.
I didn't ask if it made you upset, although I'm sure that's true, but it also made you mad.
Yes, it did.
And so when you stormed outside, you saw his Porsche.
Yes, ma'am.
And you wrote worst attorney award on his car.
I did. I thought the marker was like dry erase though. So let's make that clear, everyone. I thought it was dry erase.
You're the only person who can speak to your thoughts on that day, right?
Yes.
And it was a permanent marker.
It turned out to be.
So when Coach Brackman saw that, he kicks you off the team for good.
Yeah, he did.
And then you were even madder, weren't you?
It escalated, so yes.
Right, it escalated. And when you got home that night, you didn't tell your mother the real story.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. It was too upsetting. I was just so upset. It was so terrible.
Exactly. You were so upset. So you told your mother that it was Coach Brackman's fault.
Again, true. Not my best.
Blaming it on someone else.
Yes.
You also told your mother that you would get back at Coach Brackman if it was the last thing you did.
Yes, but we all said that at some time or another.
We have?
I'm sure you have, madam.
You also, the more you thought about it, the more you knew exactly what you had to do.
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions at this time.
All right, any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Avery, may you once again speak to your awards and expertise on the CHS mock trial team?
Absolutely. Okay. So as I've mentioned previously, I had won several awards at regional mock trial for my best closing and best attorney award.
Thank you. Your Honor, no further questions.
All right. I am going to try to slow down a bit for our judges. Just judges, if you're ready, I'll move on. If not, I'll give you a couple seconds.
I'm ready to move on, Your Honor.
I am fine, Your Honor, also.
We can proceed, Your Honor.
All right, then I'll ask if there are any further witnesses for the defense.
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls Taylor Perkins to the stand now.
All right. Do I have, is it Miss Perkins?
Yes.
All right. Looks like I do. You may proceed, Counsel.
All right. Good afternoon, Ms. Perkins. Could you please state and spell your name for the record?
Yes, good evening. My name is Taylor Perkins. That's Perkins.
To begin, how do you know the defendant, Avery Becker?
Well, we're best friends. He and I are best friends, but also we are on the same mock trial team.
And as Avery Becker's best friend, do you think he's capable of committing murder?
No, not at all. Avery can be rash and has a little bit of an ego, but he would never be so irrational to murder someone.
Thank you. Could you please tell me about his and Coach Brackman's relationship?
Well, they always had a complicated relationship. They always had these little feuds that I just thought were very funny and not very serious. But then things escalated to one fight where Avery was demoted to B team.
What happened then?
Well, Avery came to practice late, and Mr. Brackman just lost it. he yelled at him and said that he's not A material, and that he should
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Response?
Your Honor, I can move on to my next question.
All right, the objection is sustained. You can ask the next question, Counsel.
All right, thank you. What happened after Avery was demoted to B team?
Well, I'm such a good friend. I'm his best friend, and I didn't really care about mock trial that much. I didn't even want to be a lawyer. So I thought that since it's Avery's senior year, I would give up my spot because I think that without him, they won't win.
All right. Did Avery tell you what happened, the events of the next practice after the regional tournament?
Yes, as I wasn't there because I was, of course, off the team now, but to my knowledge, Avery did play a little prank on Mr. Brackman.
Thank you. And when did he tell you about this?
Right after.
So he told you of these events before Coach Brackman's death?
Yes.
Before he had any reason to want to defend himself or lie?
Yes. From my knowledge, it was a dry erase marker, and it was just a prank.
Did you hear Avery testify to this version of the events today?
Yes.
And do you confirm that those versions of events as he testified to are the same as what he told you right after practice?
Yeah, exactly the same.
Did Avery ever attempt to regain his spot on the team?
Yeah, he tried so much. He was apologizing to Mr. Brackman so much. And Mr. Brackman just wouldn't accept it, which I thought was unfair because Avery did think it was a dry erase marker.
All right, moving on. From your vantage point as Avery's best friend and teammate and Alex Cifuentes' teammate, what was their relationship like?
Oh, well, Avery and Alex didn't like each other. I mean, on a basic level, they were okay, but deep down, no. They were not good. They were not friends.
Now, tell me what happened on the day before the murder.
Well, before the murder, Avery tried to apologize to Mr. Brackman, but he just wouldn't accept her apology. So she came and hanged out with me, and we went to the Fry Shack. And there we found, it wasn't a good choice because we found the whole mock trial team there, especially Alex Cifuentes.
What happened that day at the Fry Shack?
Well, everyone was apologizing to Avery, even Alex Cifuentes, which was kind of passive aggressive. And Avery got really upset and stormed to the bathroom. I mean, who wouldn't? But he left his phone, which is like his third kidney, which I thought was surprising.
Avery left his phone on the table when he went to the bathroom?
Yes.
And where was Alex Cifuentes when Avery went to the bathroom?
He also stayed at the table.
So he had access to Avery's phone that evening?
Yes.
And when did you leave the Fry Shack?
We left right after Avery came from the bathroom, and we went to the mall.
Let's move on to the day of the murder. What did you do that day?
Well, I was texting Avery to pick me up because that's what he usually does, and he wouldn't text me back. So after he picked me up, we realized that he didn't have his phone on him, which was a surprise.
So you're not sure that Avery had his phone when he left the Fry Shack that night before?
No.
And were there other people at the table in the Fry Shack when you and Avery left?
Yeah, the mock trial team and especially Alex Cifuentes.
So what happened at the Fry Shack when you went back the next day to look for the phone?
Well, so we looked at the mall, we looked everywhere, but we couldn't find it at the mall. And then I remembered that the last time I remember seeing it was at the Fry Shack. So we went and checked there. And for some reason, the whole mock trial team was there, which was very surprising because they were supposed to be at practice.
So to confirm, you were with Avery from when he picked you up for school that morning to after school when practice was supposed to be held.
Yes.
And again, just for confirmation, you and Avery didn't go to Brackman's house that day once.
No, I don't even know where Brackman's house is.
And when did you find out that Mr. Brackman had been killed?
Later, like when everyone else did, like way later.
Before or after you all met at the Fry Shack?
Way after.
Do you know Blair Rowlands?
Yeah, we all do. He went to the same high school as us.
Could you tell me about Blair Rowlands and his relationship with Coach Brackman?
Well, Blair Rowlands hates Coach Brackman. It's obvious.
Objection, speculation.
Response?
My witness, Taylor Perkins, went to the same school where Mr. Brackman was a coach and where Blair Rowlands attended. My witness is privy to the knowledge that the entire class held about their relationship.
All right.
Response, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, there is very little evidence that Miss Perkins knew that Blair Rowlands knew Mr. Brackman. They were not on the same mock trial team, and Miss Perkins was never there when they interacted.
All right. I did hear testimony that this witness, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sustain the objection. You can lay further foundation, Ms. Frau, if you wish, or you can move on, but I'll sustain the objection to the question at this point.
All right. Yes, Your Honor. So you attended the same school as Mr. Rowlands?
Yes.
And did you know about him and his relationship with Coach Brackman?
To my knowledge, there was a lot of rumors. So, and it was common knowledge to everyone in the class that Blair Rowlands didn't have the best relationship with Mr. Brackman.
Thank you. And do you know where Blair was the day that Brackman was killed?
No, but to my knowledge, he wasn't at school.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Any cross?
Yes, Your Honor. Good evening, Miss Perkins. My name is Feliciana Sayers. Let's start with your relationship with Coach Brackman. You thought Coach Brackman was a mediocre coach.
Yeah. You know what they say, those who can do and those who can't coach. That was basically Mr. Brackman.
You thought he made bad choices for the team.
Yeah.
To your knowledge, he thought Mr. Becker put little effort into mock trial.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance?
Response?
Your Honor, this is relevant. Miss Perkins is testifying as to the relationship between Coach Brackman and Miss Becker, which is the reason we are here today.
Response, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
We are looking into the relationship between Mr. Becker and Mr. Brackman, not the relationship between my witness, Miss Perkins, and Mr. Brackman. So this is relevant.
All right. I will overrule the objection. I'll allow the question. You may continue.
To your knowledge, Coach Brackman did not like Mr. Becker.
Yes. They had some feuds.
Yes, and Mr. Becker would often show up late and unprepared to practice.
Yeah, but he had natural talent.
Let's talk about what happened at the practice a month before the regional tournament. Mr. Becker came to practice the most unprepared you had ever seen.
Yes.
He was obviously making things up on the fly.
Yes, but he had the talent for it. So it was still very good.
And he was getting a bit off track from the prepared closing arguments.
That's correct.
Coach Brackman got so heated about this, he demoted Mr. Becker to the B team.
Yeah.
And you thought Mr. Becker deserved to be on A team.
Of course. He is so good. He has natural talent, which is more
Yes,
than
Ms. Perkins. And so you decided to quit the team in support of your best friend.
Yeah, but I didn't care about being a lawyer, so I thought he deserved it more.
Yet you did not quit the team the week before you did not quit the team the day after Mr. Becker was demoted.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
You did not quit the team the day after Mr. Becker was demoted.
Yes. Yes.
You did not quit the team the week after Mr. Becker was demoted.
Yes.
You waited 3 whole weeks after Mr. Becker was demoted to quit the mock trial team, the week before the regional tournament.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
Response?
Your Honor, this is relevant. It's showing the relationship between Taylor Perkins and Mr. Becker.
The objection is over. I'm sorry, go ahead. I'll let you respond, counsel. Go ahead.
As I've said, the relationship between Taylor Perkins and the victim isn't in question here. And the exact time at which Taylor Perkins withdrew from the mock trial team doesn't have any relevance here.
The objection is overruled. You can either answer the question if you recall it, or you can re-ask it, counsel.
You did not quit the team, you waited 3 whole weeks after Mr. Becker was demoted to quit the mock trial team, the week before the regional tournament.
Yes.
Leaving Coach Brackman no choice but to put Mr. Becker back on the A team.
Well, if I quit earlier, he would still have put her in.
Now let's talk about what happened after the regional tournament. Coach Brackman got all over Mr. Becker.
Yes.
Giving him a hard time about everything.
That's true.
He even said Mr. Becker did not deserve the awards he won.
I wasn't there, but from what I heard, yes.
When Mr. Becker left, he Sharpied Worst Attorney Award on the hood of Coach Brackman's...
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
All right, let me let her finish the question, then I'll take the objection. So please don't answer the question, Ms. Perkins, but go ahead and finish the question, counsel.
When Mr. Becker left, he Sharpied Worst Attorney Award on the hood of Coach Brackman's Porsche.
All right, hold on. Counsel, go ahead and make your objection.
Speculation. My witness wasn't at that practice. She wasn't privy to that knowledge, and opposing counsel is asking my witness to speculate on this matter.
Response.
Your Honor, Taylor Perkins already testified she was the best friend of the defendant. She knows what happened, as Mr. Becker told her, and they had many conversations about it.
All right, I'm going to sustain the objection to the question as it was now phrased, but I'll let you lay further foundation, counsel, if you want. You may proceed.
To your knowledge, when Mr. Becker left, he Sharpied Worst Attorney Award on the hood of Coach Brackman's Porsche.
To my knowledge, but he didn't mean to.
This you described earlier under direct as a prank.
Yes. It was meant as a prank because Avery used a dry erase marker, but it turned out to be a Sharpie.
Ms. Perkins, just to clarify, you are saying that Mr. Becker sharpieing Coach Brackman's car was a prank.
Well, it was intended as a prank, but
thank you, Ms. Perkins. And when Coach Brackman saw this, he kicked Mr. Becker off the team for good.
Yes.
Now let's talk about what happened on March 5th. Mr. Becker attempted to show up at mock trial practice.
He did.
He was then told to leave.
I apologize.
He was then told to leave.
Yes.
So he went to your house.
Yeah, for moral support.
And the two of you played games on your phone.
Of course.
Later that evening, the two of you went to get some food at the Fry Shack.
Yeah, we were hungry after playing all the games.
And after that, the two of you hung out at the mall.
That's correct.
And it is at the Fry Shack that you last saw Mr. Becker's phone.
Yes, and also Alex Fuentes.
Now, the next morning, Mr. Becker picked you up for school.
That's correct.
And it wasn't until you pointed it out that he realized his phone was missing.
Yes.
A phone you describe as his third kidney.
Yeah.
A phone you describe as never out of reach.
Yes.
And so the two of you ditched an entire day of school.
Yeah, it was boring. We didn't have anything for that day.
And according to your story, you spent the entire day looking for Mr. Becker's phone.
Yes, we did.
And according to your story, you spent the entire day at the mall.
We checked the mall and then we checked the Fry Shack.
And according to your story, you never found Mr. Becker's phone.
No.
Now, Ms. Perkins, you and Mr. Becker are the only people testifying today that the two of you spent the entire day together.
That's correct.
Thank you. No further questions at this time.
All right, any redirect, counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Ms. Perkins, you say that it was very rare to see Mr. Becker without his phone.
Yeah, that's true.
So would you say it was unlikely that he lost the phone on accident?
Yeah, very unlikely.
Would you say instead it was more likely that his phone was stolen?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Take a moment. Are there any further witnesses for the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls Professor Blake Van Owen to the stand.
All right, let's just give it 1 sec. We'll take up Dr. Van Owen in just a moment. All right. All right. You may proceed. Ms. Bender.
Good evening. To begin, will you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Yes, my name is Professor Blake Van Owen. That's Vanowen.
And what is your occupation, Professor Van Owen?
I'm a private investigator and a professor at CU Denver.
Now, what experience do you have working with the police?
I was a member of the Aurora Police Department for some time, but then I was involved with an injury of a young woman, and that event made me realize how deeply flawed the current justice system in America is. And so I decided to resign from that position.
What kind of jobs did you work in after your resignation?
After I resigned, I worked as a school resource officer, then a private security guard, and then I decided to explore the field of private investigation. And while I was a private investigator, I began instructing a class on police procedures at the Community College of the Rockies.
Now, what sort of education do you have?
After I began teaching, I obtained a master's degree in criminal justice from Ashford University.
And do you have any other experience pertinent to your experience with this case?
I currently teach a class in police practices in social justice.
Wonderful. Now, what experience do you have with your expertise being used in a judicial context like this one?
One of my teaching obligations, I also act as an expert in courtroom witness, Let me start over. I act as a courtroom witness on the defense side all over the country. I've been accepted as a defense expert in state courts in Wyoming, Nebraska, Colorado, and New Mexico. And I've also been accepted by various courts as an expert in crime scene reconstruction 8 total times, cell tower analysis 5 times, a general police investigation tactics 12 times, and I've also consulted on well over 100 cases.
Your Honor, I move to enter Blake Van Owen as an expert witness in the fields of police practices, forensic evidence tactics, crime scene reconstruction, and cell tower data analysis on the basis of her education and experience in these fields.
All right, people's position.
Your Honor, could Ms. Fendrick please repeat the areas in which Ms. Van Owen has been tendered?
Yes, of course.
Ms. Fendrick, go ahead.
The fields of police practices, forensic evidence tactics, crime scene reconstruction, and cell tower data analysis on the basis of her education and experience.
With that, Your Honor, a brief voir dire.
You may.
Ms. Van Owen, you don't mention in your statement that you have any training in forensic data recovery.
I don't have training, but I have experience working in a court case with it.
Working with a court case, but no real life experience.
No, but we're in a court today where I'll be using that knowledge in a court.
Well, you don't have any education on forensics?
No.
You don't have any training in forensic data?
No.
You don't have any knowledge in forensic data?
I have enough to consult on this case.
You don't say that in your statement.
Well, then I guess I don't have knowledge.
And you don't have skill in forensic data?
No, I don't have professional skill.
Your Honor, at this time, the people object to the tendering of Ms. Van Owen as an expert in forensic data on the basis of 702, no skill, knowledge, education, experience, or training have been shown.
Response from the defense.
Your Honor, my client has a master's degree in criminal justice from Ashford University. And although the specifics of this degree have never been exactly laid out in front of me, I can assure you that my client's experience working in courtrooms with this sort of data and evidence perfectly qualifies her to work with it.
All right, over objection, I will find that based upon her experience, not necessarily her training, but her experience, this witness is qualified as an expert in the area of forensic data, as well as the other areas outlined by the defense, and I will so qualify her. You may proceed.
Thank you. Now, moving on to the night of March 6th, 2020. Your Honor, may I screen share Exhibit 16, seeing as it has already been entered into evidence?
You may.
Thank you. I seem to be having a technical issue. Please pardon my latency.
If you need co-counsel to help, that's fine.
I see. Well, seeing as this evidence has already been entered, I hope that it is fine if it is not presented directly on the screen here.
The court's already received it. The jury has seen it. You may proceed.
Thank you. Now, Professor, will you please describe Exhibit 16?
It is the images that show cell tower data collected from Avery Becker's phone.
And now, seeing as their authenticity has already been stipulated, let's talk about them. So, Professor Van Owen, what does the prosecution claim is the significance of this exhibit?
The prosecution previously stated that this proves that Avery Becker was in the vicinity of the crime committed on March 6th.
And what do you believe the images indicate?
I actually believe they prove very little about where Avery Becker was.
And why is that?
Cell tower data can't be treated the same as GPS data. Cell phones are designed to connect to the tower with the best signal, which isn't always the closest tower. Just because the records show that the phone was connected to those cell towers doesn't mean that the phone was near the scene of the crime. Not to mention the fact that the phone had been lost previously, as stated by both Taylor and Avery.
Wonderful. Now, Your Honor, may I play the audio for Exhibit 22?
Objection, Your Honor. Exhibit 22 has not been admitted into evidence.
The objection is sustained.
Your Honor, I move for Exhibit 22 to be entered into evidence to allow the audio to be played so that my expert witness may testify as to its importance on this case.
May I respond, Your Honor?
You may.
Your Honor, while the accuracy of Exhibit 22 has been stipulated to, no foundation to Exhibit 22's authenticity has been shown.
Yeah. So I guess I need to make clear, is this an exhibit that is included in the stipulations that I heard earlier that the parties had entered into?
Yes, Your Honor.
So this exhibit was to be received by the court by stipulation?
Your Honor, the stipulation states that it's accurate. However, the authenticity has not been stipulated to.
All right, I see.
Response, Your Honor?
Sure.
Seeing as the accuracy has already been stipulated, I fail to understand how that is separate from the authenticity of it.
All right. Well, here's what I'm going to do. In light of the stipulation, I will allow the exhibit to be admitted over an excellent objection, but I am going to allow it to be admitted. You may proceed.
Thank you. I will now play that audio.
I'll get you back, Brackman, if it's the last thing I do.
Professor Van Owen, will you please describe the significance of that audio?
That was the voice of Jonathan Rowland, a former client of Mackenzie Brackman that was sentenced to life in prison. And Jonathan's child, Blair, was present at that hearing. And as evident by their testimony in the extended recording prior to the segment that was presented, Blair
Time is up.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
All right, thank you very much. Annie, let's see, where are we at? We are on cross. Any cross for this witness, counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Good evening, Miss Van Owen. My name is Chalmers Powell. Good evening. All right. Let's talk about your opinion on the text messages. You believe that the text messages could have been doctored.
They could have, yes.
But nothing on the screenshots of the text messages actually shows that they were doctored.
It doesn't show that, but they could have been doctored very well that it wouldn't show that.
That wasn't my question. Nothing shows that they were doctored. It sounds like your answer is yes.
Yeah, nothing on the photos actually shows that it's doctored, but that doesn't mean it's not.
Let's talk about your investigation. You investigated alternative explanations for the murder of Mackenzie Brackman?
I did. I felt the police weren't looking into all their options.
The only other person you investigated for the murder of Mackenzie Brackman was Blair Rowlands.
Yes, I felt they were the most prominent of the people I thought could have done it.
Well, you only investigated one other person, right?
Yes, I felt very strongly that Blair Rowlands is the real culprit.
Well, the reason you believe that is because Jonathan Rowlands was defended by Mr. Brackman, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And during that trial, Jonathan Rowlands yelled something to Mr. Brackman.
Yes, as played on the video.
Miss Van Owen, you say that Jonathan Rowlands says, Brackman, you are going to die.
I believe I did.
You believe you did, or you do?
I did.
So, and you heard that Exhibit 22?
I did.
He doesn't say that Brackman is going to die, does he?
No, I must have misspoke in my witness statement.
Right. Let's talk about your opinion on the knife. You believe that the knife was brought into the home.
I do.
And that was evidence of premeditation?
Yes.
And if that was true, that points away from Avery Becker.
Yes, I believe it does.
Now, if you saw the ring video, right?
I did.
You saw the intruder.
I saw the intruder masked and gloved.
Right, you saw the intruder.
Yes.
But you didn't see the intruder carrying a knife, did you?
No, but it could have not been visible on the cameras or in their pocket or in their jacket.
But you didn't see the intruder carrying a knife.
No.
Objection, Your Honor. Assuming facts not in evidence, just because the knife was not pictured in the ring video does not mean that it was present when the intruder entered the home.
Response.
That's exactly what I'm arguing, Your Honor. Ms. Van Owen's claim that the intruder brought the knife in is baseless, and I'm showing evidence to that.
The objection's overruled. You may answer the question.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yep. You cannot see the intruder carrying a knife.
No.
Thank you, Ms. Van Owen. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
All right. We're out of time for redirect. So any further witnesses from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right. I believe that leaves us with closings, counsel. I want to give my panelists just a moment, and then we'll proceed to closings.
I'm ready to proceed, Your Honor.
I'm ready to proceed, Your Honor.
I'm ready, Your Honor.
All right. Do the people wish to make a closing argument?
Yes, Your Honor. I would just like to make sure that any time remaining in my closing argument may be reserved for rebuttal.
That request was earlier granted. I'll confirm that ruling. I'll just make sure that the timer notes how much time remains when the opening is concluded, please, so that both sides can see that. You may proceed, counsel.
Your Honor, counsel, members of the jury, towers, texts, and tantrums. On Friday, March 6, 2020, Mackenzie Brackman got an alert on his phone. Bing. Motion at your front door. Seconds later, he got another. Motion at your side gate. He rushed to the kitchen to grab a defensive weapon, but before he could get to the back door, the intruder had entered his home. He fought with the intruder. He struggled for his life, but was stabbed in the back. Little did he know, the intruder was Avery Becker. Members of the jury, my name is Chalmers Powell, and along with my co-counsel, Madeline Proctor and Feliciana Sayers, we represent the people of the state of Colorado. In today's case, we carry the burden of proof. That means we have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant, Avery Becker, committed second-degree burglary and, by extension, first-degree murder. As the judge will instruct you, a reasonable doubt isn't a speculative or imaginary doubt, but a doubt that would cause you, a reasonable person, to hesitate to act in matters of importance to yourself. We had to prove to you that the defendant entered Mr. Brackman's home with the intent to commit criminal mischief. That is second-degree burglary. We also had to prove that Mr. Brackman died while the defendant committed that crime. That is first-degree murder. We have met our burden. How do we know? The defendant said he indicated his plan to commit criminal mischief, to vandalize the home. And Mackenzie Brackman was stabbed in the back and bled out in his entryway floor. At the beginning of this trial, Ms. Proctor asked you to remember three things: towers, texts, and tantrums. Towers. The towers prove that the defendant was at Mr. Brackman's home. His phone pinged not once, not twice, but 3 times right there. The defendant wants you to believe that he lost his phone but he didn't realize that his phone was missing until the morning after? Please. Text. The defendant texted Ms. Cifuentes his plan to vandalize the home. I'm going to wait until he's at work, break in, and trash it. He admitted to it. He wants you to believe that Alex Cifuentes and Blair Rowlands conspired against him and faked these texts. There's no reason for that to happen. That's the vague, that's the speculative doubt. They just want you to imagine it. Tantrums. We just didn't vibe. Members of the jury, when the defendant got challenged by Mr. Brackman, his ego was challenged by Mr. Brackman, he felt betrayed. So he went out and vandalized the car. After the rude message, after the apologies didn't work, he felt betrayed. He got mad, even madder. So he went out and vandalized the home. His reaction, I'm going to get back at him if it's the last thing I do. If he's upset about what I did to his car, then he's going to be really upset when he sees what I do to his house. Mr. Becker tried to vandalize the home, and now Mr. Brackman is dead. Members of the jury, in a moment, opposing counsel will stand right here and try and sweep everything we just talked about. Sweep all of this evidence under the rug. Don't let her. Avery Becker went to the home to commit criminal mischief, caused a struggle, and stabbed Mackenzie Brackman. Towers, texts, and tantrums lead to the truth. Avery Becker is guilty as charged. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. Does the defense wish to close?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed when you're ready, Counsel.
Your Honor, members of the jury, my name is Virginia Frau, and I'm one of the attorneys representing the defendant, Avery Becker. Today, Mr. Becker has been put on trial for murder in the first degree and burglary in the second degree. Prosecution has been responsible for proving that the defendant is guilty of these crimes beyond a reasonable doubt. And today, the prosecution has failed to do this. The prosecution has provided you with 3 witnesses. First, Detective Jordan Markowitz, who has failed to investigate any leads or suspects other than Avery Becker, despite there being several other possible suspects in this case. The detective has also failed to investigate any evidence that might not line up with the prosecution's false narrative that Avery Becker committed this murder. He has blindly trusted the every word of student Alex Cifuentes and yet dismissed anything from the defendant as a lie. Intentional or not, this clear bias has caused Avery Becker's life to be derailed and has prevented true justice from being found for Mackenzie Brackman. Kyle Cusack, a crime scene reconstruction investigator, it appears has served no purpose in today's trial. He has provided no proof or anything resembling it that Avery Becker committed any crime. As Mr. Cusack has mentioned, the intruder was masked and gloved, meaning that there's no visual or DNA evidence that Mr. Becker was anywhere near the victim's house on the day of the murder, nor any other day. And Alex Cifuentes, a student that, despite claiming to be close friends with the defendant, has been all too eager to aid in his conviction. Fortunately, none of this evidence Ms. Cifuentes has provided proves that Avery Becker is guilty of anything other than being Alex's competition. Prosecution has provided you with only 2 pieces of evidence that seek to prove the guilt of the defendant. And yet, even these pieces of evidence fall short. And make no mistake, I'm not trying to sweep these pieces of evidence under the rug. I am illuminating doubt which, despite The prosecution is supposed to be able to prove this evidence. Again, the prosecution has failed this, and I'm only doing my job to illuminate this doubt. You have also seen screenshots of a supposed text conversation between Avery Becker and Alex Cifuentes. Unfortunately, these screenshots have no timestamps, nor can they be authenticated with either of the actual phones. And you have seen a diagram of cell tower records that supposedly locate Avery Becker's phone as moving towards the victim's house on the day of the murder. However, you have not seen any proof that Avery Becker was in possession of his phone the day of the murder. In fact, you have heard accounts from both the defendant and Taylor Perkins that say he was not in possession of his phone that day. As you have been shown, not only can the prosecution not prove the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but there isn't a single piece of evidence to this point that withstands any reasonable doubt. Today, the defense has also provided you with 3 witnesses. First, the defendant himself, Avery Becker, who testifies A, to not being in possession of his phone on the day of the murder, and to B, not being anywhere near the victim's residence that day or ever. Second, Taylor Perkins, friend of the defendant, who has not only corroborated Avery's alibi, but testified that he isn't and never has been capable of committing murder in any degree. Third, you have heard from Blake Van Owen, who has proved utilizing CDRs as a phone tracking method is not nearly as exact as this case, a murder case, calls for. The professor has also presented evidence that illuminates a possible motive for a suspect that the prosecution has again failed to investigate altogether. In this trial, the prosecution was responsible for proving that the defendant committed the murder, then for proving that the death took place during the commission or attempted commission of an inherently dangerous felony, and finally, for proving that the defendant intended to commit the felony in the first place. The prosecution has not come close to proving any of these things. Therefore, you must return a verdict of not guilty, not only for Avery Becker, but for Mackenzie Brackman, who devoted his life to seeking out truth and justice and to teaching his students how to do the same. For not just his sake, but for your own.
It's time, counsel. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. The prosecution has 20 seconds for rebuttal. Did you wish to make a rebuttal argument?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Members of the jury, I'm going to break in and trash it. That's all you need. That's criminal mischief. The only verdict that matches the evidence and delivers justice is one of guilty. Find Avery Becker guilty. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's a little discouraging because I can't give you guys what really is a good ovation because none of your friends and family are here to give it to. But I will. You guys did a great job. Why don't you turn on all your videos there, counsel and witnesses? I'm going to give your scoring panelists just a moment. And panelists, when you're ready, will you let me know? I'd like to let you turn in your scores and make any comments and get you along. Are any of our panelists ready to give any input to the attorneys and the witnesses now? You need a couple minutes before you do that because I'm happy to talk to them first.
I would prefer to make a few comments now before I do the scoring part because I got to figure out where to go do that.
All right, Mr. Connell, go ahead and let them know who you are and tell them what you think.
Hello, everybody. My name's John Cannell. I'm an attorney at Berg Simpson, and I have been a trial lawyer for almost 40 years. For the most part, I really liked how you guys presented the case. A couple of you had trouble with what I would consider to be runaway witnesses. And I would say that Mr. Rainwater, you did a very good job as a witness. And also the witness right before that, and I can't find it on my notes, both of you Alexis, Juliet, you did a great job. But counsel, you got to control those people. You can't just let them go on and on and on. They're giving all kinds of opinions about things that they shouldn't be talking about. You really have to try and control that very talkative witness. And that goes for all of you guys. I noticed some really good objections in there. Let me turn on my video. I noticed some really good objections that you guys had, and the judge agreed with your objection. But then, right after that, the attorney asked the same question and you let him get away with it. One of the things that senior attorneys really like to do to junior attorneys is they object to a question, and then the junior attorney will ask the same question again in a little bit different way, and then you object again, and then they ask it again the same way, and you object again, and then they get so frustrated that they move on and they don't ask the question anymore, and the senior attorney is laughing to himself inside. That you have to make sure that if you make a good objection and the judge agrees with your objection, that you don't let the attorney ask that same question again. And if you're the attorney that gets the objection, that the judge sustains, if it's foundation or whatever it is, make sure that you go back and you're responsive to the reason why the judge was making the objection stand, and find some more background information or something that will allow you to get past it. On the closings, it's really important, Chalmers, to not do the defense's job for them. They have to pound on burden of proof. And you have to make sure that you don't tell the jury all that on your side. You need that confident look of, we've shown this, and let them assume that you've made your burden of proof. And then for the same reasons, Virginia, when you were doing yours, pound on that burden of proof, because overall, I thought you did a really good closing. But again, hit that burden of proof. Overall, I just thought you guys were awesome, and the witnesses were good, all the witnesses. I thought you handled everything really well, and I really applaud you guys for what you did tonight.
All right, Mr. Cannell, thank you so much. I'll let you get back to your scoring. Please don't leave the room until you've submitted your sheet, please.
Okay.
Ms. Ryan or Mr. Bird, did you have any comments? Or are you still working on your sheets?
I'm done with my scoring sheet, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Ryan, why don't you introduce yourself to the jurors and let them know, or sorry, the attorneys, and let them know your thoughts, please.
My name's Holly Ryan. I was a foreclosure, bankruptcy, eviction attorney for about 23 years, and I'm currently the Jefferson County Public Trustee, which is the government office of the county that do foreclosures. Trial-wise, you guys did a great job. It's a lot of hard work, and I commend you for taking a lot of time out of your high school studies to practice this. But you will find that even if you don't go into the area of law, it will help you in pretty much any career that you're looking at. I'm sorry you don't get to thoroughly get the experience of being in a courtroom before the judge at counsel table. It's a great experience. Even the best lawyer sometimes can be overwhelmed just by all of the courtroom procedures and the presence and the jury staring at you. So hopefully you'll get to experience that at some point. The witnesses were awesome. You guys were good. I agree with my other counsel that sometimes you made it hard on your own attorneys as well as defense attorneys. And you do have to try to rein that in. I was really excited when Lane did the opening for defense. I like to hear what the cases are, what the elements are, what elements you need for the prosecution to prove, and how you're going to show that those elements aren't going to be met. But then I kind of didn't follow where you were bringing those elements in when you were talking to your witnesses. It's nice to just hammer those home. You didn't get this element, that element, boom, on to the next question. The closing for both attorneys were good. You brought back in what the opening attorney had said that, brings your story to full fruition, which was really good. And overall, great job. I hope you do well in your next rounds, and glad you have the first two under your belt.
All right, Ms. Ryan, as soon as you and Mr. Cannell have got your sheets submitted, so make sure you hit that submit button. You're welcome to log out. Mr. Bird, are you in a place to tell the students who you are and give them some thoughts?
Absolutely. And I've finished my scoring as well. So that's
all
been
right.
good.
Go ahead, sir.
Hello, everyone. I am Nathan Bird. I am in my last semester at Denver Law currently. And I just want to say that you guys did a really, really good job. We're going pretty late into the night, and I thought that everyone's energy was really high. You were really taking it seriously. I could tell that you had rehearsed and that you were putting it all out there. And I want to echo the other two panelists in complimenting the witnesses that really took the role seriously and wanted to act as that character rather than just, reading the script or whatnot. The big thing I want to bring up is reading. So some of you did an excellent job of only rarely glancing at your notes, but some others, it's easier to tell than you might think when your eyes are going back and forth to see that you are reading your notes. And so you definitely want to avoid having it come across as scripted and that you're just reading the script. You want to come across as really knowing the case. You're sure that you win, and this is why. And look at your witness when they're answering rather than ask a question and then looking down at your notes while they're answering, because then I feel like, again, it kind of plays into the whole script and you're not really interested in what they're answering. You're just thinking about the next question you're going to ask. But besides that, I really thought you guys were excellent, and I want to compliment all of you on such a great job.
Absolutely. Thank you. Just give me one sec, folks, and then I want to chat with you just a little bit. Hold on. All right. John, I want to make sure I'm reading you right here. If you go back to the page that you entered on for the meeting, you'll see the Judge and Volunteer Area tab. And if you click on that and scroll down a bit, there's a score sheet. Click here for score sheet. And then you should be good. I hope that answers the question. All right. Let me tell you guys, my name is Eric White. I'm a district court judge in Arapahoe County. I was an attorney practicing for a little over 20 years. I've been on the bench for 6 years. I coached mock trial for 4 years. I was a judge. This will be the second year. So I've been involved since I took the bench. Every year, I'm just more and more impressed by what you guys do. I want you to understand the courage that it takes to do what you did today, even by Zoom, all right? Even this way, where the pressure is a little different, as Ms. Ryan pointed out, it takes so much courage. When I was in high school, I couldn't have done what you guys are doing. It's amazing what I see of students. and so thrilled to be able to be involved with this program and to watch you guys do this. And I hope you really appreciate how proud you should be of being able to do what you just did and what you're going to do 2 more times tomorrow. It's just absolutely remarkable. Everything I think that the panelists and I are talking about can be really nitpicky things. Again, I think that when I was your age, would have stood up, probably peed my pants and then run away. And you guys didn't. And I just, again, I think it's remarkable. So please take everything that the panelists said and I said as picky details. So the big thing you guys got to watch out for is time. It's a real bugger. And if it catches you at the backside, it can cost you with the scoring panelists. And so that's a bugger. I think in this case, the scoring panelists are exactly right. You both were faced with a couple of really difficult witnesses. And by the way, that's exactly what they should have been. Outstanding job by your witnesses. Just probably collectively the best witnesses I think I've ever seen. You guys were just fabulous. But when you get witnesses like that, they can run away from you and they can cost you at the backside. And so you just got to be real careful. And that's both sides when you get a runaway witness. And when you get those strong personalities, it is difficult to control them. So I saw you trying at times, but it didn't really get them reined in. And you got to kind of stay on top of it and keep them narrowed in. And there were other times you guys did a really good job of not letting a witness dodge around you, nailing them down. Is that a yes? Is that a no? I hear a yes. That was a no. That's nice work. Keep an eye on your leading questions on cross-examination. Always ask leading questions on cross, all right? I was a defense lawyer before I did this. I don't think I ever asked an open-ended question on cross, ever, because the answer is dangerous. And you can find yourself in a bad place, particularly with a crazy witness like a couple that you had. You give them an open-ended question, they're gonna run. And they did. They ran. And they should have, because they were fabulous, both of them. Fabulous. And all of them, not just the two that were so charismatic, shall we say. Just fabulous job, guys. On whole, I just want you to know that I was just so impressed. Again, these things that I'm giving you are ticky-tacky, and it's because you're really good teams. And the way that you're going to keep going on is to fix those ticky-tacky little things and find yourselves in a great spot. So again, please go home tonight, be proud of what you've done, try to get some rest. The only other thing that I'll just say is that Nathan, Mr. Bird was correct when he said you guys had energy, and I am pooped, and you guys are fabulous, right? I mean, you were bright-eyed, and you were ready to go, right? You were ready, you were prepared. Maybe it's adrenaline, maybe you had too much coffee, but you were ready. And that is just super impressive. So go home, get some rest, get yourselves up for your next round tomorrow morning. Your coaches and your parents, who I hope have watched this, should be prouder than punching you guys. You guys just did a fabulous job. All right. So you guys are released. You don't have to hang around, listen to old people talk anymore. All right. You're welcome to go. And I'm going to make sure that I get some things done here. And you guys go have a good night, get some rest, get some food, okay? Excellent job. Excellent job.
Thank you so much for judging us, scoring us.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you to the panelists. Thanks, guys, for telling them that. Thank you very much.
Good job, Team T.
You're welcome. Have a good
Yeah,
night.
good job, everyone.
Mr.
right.
Becker, that was the funniest performance I've ever seen of Mr. Becker. I loved it.
Yeah, Alexa Fuentes did a really good job too.
Fabulous stuff, guys. Outstanding. All right. So, John, you're having a bit of a problem with the score sheet. Is that right?
I am. For whatever reason, I can't figure out how to go backwards. I don't know if if I did something wrong here, but
we'll figure it out.
Okay.
I got to get somebody who's got a bigger tech head than I've got. Nathan.
Hey, John.
I'm sorry.
You go to CoBar Regionals with the number 2.com /judge-and volunteer-area. That will put you right to the screen where it asks for your score sheet.
I think Nathan just posted it for us in the chat. If you
Okay,
go-
there we go. Thank you.
There you go.
Now, okay, so I go here and then,
Click on the
to-
score sheet
oh, there we go. Oh,
and then
okay.
put your names, and then you can drop down and pick your 1 to 10 for your scoring.
Got it. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
All right, John, you can navigate it. I'm not going to close because I got to get your scores in. Holly, did you
Right.
get your scores in okay?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
All right. And Nathan, did you get yours in okay?
Yes, I did.
All right. With my thanks to all of you, and I'm not going to end the meeting because I got to let John get his scores in. I can't thank you enough for your patience on a day like today. It's just really appreciated, and you can see how fabulous these kids are. Thank you so much for your patience with us. Hopefully next year we can get back to the real thing and not by this bloody computer that I candidly hate. But young guys like Nathan, he's on it. So more power to you, Nathan.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much. Holly, Nathan, you're welcome to log out. If you want to stay on, that's fine. I'm not going to end the meeting until John's done. And John, you got all the time you need. Take the time to do what you need to do.
Okay, I'm working on it.
No problem. All right,
Thanks, Your
again.
Honor.
Y'all,
Maybe
Yeah,
we'll
thank you
see
for
you at
everything.
tomorrow's rounds.
all right, we'll see you then. Thank you so
Okay.
much, folks.
I'll be here for tomorrow's rounds as well. And I just want to say, thank you. This is really an awesome experience. And like I said, when I was talking to the kids, that their energy was just awesome. That you could tell they were so invested and they really, really want to win, It's just really great to see.
Yeah, it's never ceases to amaze what teenage children can do. It is remarkable what they're capable of. I just am so impressed every year. Just remarkable.
Yeah, they
think
do
we're
a good
good.
job.
I
A
gotta
lot of
talk-
hours practicing.
I got to talk to my boss. My boss. You should have sheets from Holly and Nathan. John had a little technical difficulty, but he thinks he's getting it done.
Oh, yeah, I don't have John's.
Other than that, are we good?
Other than John's portion.
All right, so this is the boss. If everybody doesn't know Kim, this is Kim. She takes no credit, but were it not for her, we would not have a competition. There's Kim's hands.
Hi, Kim.
There's
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you again, folks. If you need to log off, please do. John, I'm not going to cut you off. Do what you got to do.
Okay, I'm
Your
still
Honor.
working on it.
Thank you very much. Bunch of it.
I got 3 done, so,
Including this one. Or this is the
no,
fourth.
I'm not sure.
I'm going to hang on to make sure that I don't get John cut off, and we'll make sure we get down quite close.
So you presenting and also.
Yes.
Very impressive.
Well, only because Heather set me up. She already had me logged in, so I just had to hit the live stream and make sure I put that back on. She's fabulous, so whatever you need from me. Tomorrow's gonna
What
be,
would we do with all the multiple purposes? Or, you know,
yeah. Nobody only wants that big, but they big. Just unbelievable what they do.
full page spread.
They deserve it. Really just terrific. All right, so we're doing okay. Do we seem to do a little better this time, do you think, round 2?
Yeah, in fact, I don't want to delay round 4 because, you know, with us doing some programs, personally, I want to do it better.
Okay.
Because when someone else is doing it, they're, you know, they're just doing better, and she's good at letting us know.
Yeah.
But I feel better knowing exactly.
Okay. I trust you 100%. I worry more about my skill than yours. But we got through this. I feel pretty good about where we're at. So, and by the time we're going to be good, we're going to be good. By 4, we're going to be out there well over.
I think the key is having Ben's helping too. So I did too, Heather did too. Providing him with things.
And I can do,
He did 6.
I can do 2. If I don't have to preside, I can do 2 more too.
Hey, John, I think there might be a way for you to save it as a file too.
Yeah, I'm,
Because Dave sent it
I'm
to
just looking at the trial roster to be sure I got the name right.
Oh, okay.
Are Mike and Crystal here to score these tonight?
They'll score them tonight, and I'll have the generals done for tomorrow morning. So then I'll do it at home, but I'll email the teachers when I get home.
Okay.
I mean, there's no reason why I can't do it. Sometimes we do the panels at night too, just so that when we come in, they're done.
Yeah.
They're ready to go.
Right.
With the scores.
Whatever you need from me tonight. If you're done, we'll leave. If you need me here.
I'm not usually giving this quite so much.
No, it's over. But it is what it is. We gotta get it done. You can pay now or you can pay tomorrow.
I tried texting you and it said send failure.
Yeah, you got a hold of me once.
Let me look and see, make sure. Am I able to text you?
Hold on. I sent you one.
You did?
Yeah, I thought. Let's see. The fan says it's good. Maybe I sent it to somebody else. Oh, that's weird. I must have found this. Listen. Right, who's this? Is this Heather? Is that you?
That's me.
I wonder if I'm like a dead spot. Because I had said, I let you know, I asked if we could start at about 6. And I'd said I'd just roll. And then you responded. That's you, right? Great.
Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out why mine just said it failed. Message sent failure.
What are you? What's actually no? It showed up.
It did?
Yeah, but it showed up under a different number here. Let me see. Here. So it showed up separately. That's your number.
That's not. I don't know who that is.
You don't have done a score sheet.
I have no idea.
Is that could have been boundless. I gave my number to everybody.
Okay, I got to. Somebody's doing the craft board on my.
Huh?
Somebody's going to help us.
Okay. I'll be right there. I'll make sure this gets done.
Okay, we should be good.
You got her submitted okay?
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I'm old school. I liked it better when I'm sitting there and I can grade them as I go along, each witness and each lawyer, but.
Yeah, I'm not a fan either, but I suppose we all just adapt. Huh?
Right. But I'm happy to do it. I've done this probably 30 years out of my 40, so I really like it.
We can't thank you enough. Are you sure you got it submitted okay, John?
Yeah, I hit submit and it looks like it went in okay, so we should be good.
All right. Again, thank you so much for your patience today. And honestly, an attorney with your kind of experience with a firm like yours, helping these kids is just a really big deal. So thank you so much for your time.
Well, we really enjoy it, and I like to see them do it. I did it in law school. I didn't have the chance to do it in high school, but I did it in law school, and I think it's a really good exercise.
Yeah, I got to agree. Well, you have a nice night, sir. Thank you again so very much.
Of course, the one good thing about doing the Zoom meeting is I got to eat dinner while I was doing it. And,
yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. I'm not sure if I would have already had a scotch by now, but that's just me.
That's right. Okay, thanks. We'll see you.